Today I'm going to talk a little bit about this non-duality. It's really about recognizing that all is one. So all is one. There's no separation between individuals really, and in old sort of the old yogi texts, it was Advaita Vedanta. In things like some of the Buddhist the Buddhist texts, with the Heart Sutra, Thich Nhat Hanh wrote about interbeing, that we're all connected in some way or other, and he famously held up a piece of paper, and he said, this isn't a piece of paper, this is a cloud, because the water from the cloud just falls down to the earth. It causes the trees and other things to grow, and then the trees become paper, because it's made into paper by people who are equally fed by the water that come from the clouds. And it's recognised that for in medicine, for hundreds of years, tens of years, that every cell in the body, it changes every 7 years. So what this tells us is that we are not the body, and so if the body changes, so if we're not the body, then what are we? And then as well, we must be the mind then. Well, actually, the way I feel today is a little bit different than the way I felt yesterday. So I can't be the mind either, because this is transient too. So I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. Then what am I? And the way to really sort of try to get into this, and it starts as an intellectual type of journey. It's about sort of reading around and trying to understand it, but really it's about getting beyond the mind, because the mind can't figure these things out, and in order to move past the mind has got to disintegrate somehow. And so there's lots of techniques around self-inquiry, so that we can get into self-realization beyond the body, beyond the mind, and beyond even the slightest hint of a concept. And Eckhart Tolle said that the ultimate truth of who you are is not I am this or I am that. It's I am. So I am David, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, but I'm a son. But then if you start, I'm in business, I do this, I do that, I am happy, I am sad. But if ultimately we start to move these identifications away, it's simply I am. I am that, I am that, I am. And so Eckhart Tolle, he was this chap, you've probably seen him. He's his story is that when he was in his early to late 20s, and probably before that, he suffered from deep anxiety, depression. He's a very intelligent guy, quite clearly an academic, and then one day he just said to himself, I can't live with myself any longer. And that sort of struck him. That was his opening. That was his little crack. And who is this I who can't live with myself? And all of a sudden, it was a realization. It was the disintegration of that ego. And he said he woke up the next day, and from then on, everything has been more open, spacious. We've not had the fears, the anxiety, and all of this stuff going on. And there's another, there's several people, these flowerings, as Eckhart Tolle said, of this, moving beyond to the next states of human evolution and consciousness. But one of them is Ramana Maharshi, and he's the sage of India. He passed away in around 1950, and he's the one who asked that question, or made famous that question: Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Well, I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the clothes. Who am I? And it's that sincere, repetitive questioning, that self-inquiry. So when it comes to meditation, it's quite nice to meditate. It's a good way to help feel relaxed, feel a bit more open, hopefully get a little bit out of the head and put things into perspective. And but actually, so can going for a massage, or going for a pint, or whatever. These are all temporary states, or changes of state. And but once you can, the way to really progress into yoga, which is this moving, from the big I am, from the small I am into the big I am. Then it's a way of getting beyond the mind. So what separates us from these two, the small I and the big I, is only the concepts, these constructs that we've built up in the head. And so if we can get into some kind of meditation and then start to come into some self-inquiry: who am I? Where am I? What am I? Who is meditating? Just asking these questions, and finding which question has got some energy about it for you is important. And so, yeah, and another person I'd point you to is a chap called Nisargadatta Maharaj. I can never say his name. And he his opening was when his dying guru said to him, "Believe me, you are the supreme reality. Believe me, you are the supreme reality. Don't doubt my words. Don't disbelieve me." And that was his guru. That's his guru who was saying this on his deathbed. And that stuck with Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. And he meditated in it. He explored it. And then eventually that small crack appeared of light, and then it opened up. And then he got beyond the mind. And it was Maharaj who actually said that love says, "I am everything." Love says, "I am everything." Wisdom says, "I am nothing." Wisdom says, "I am nothing." And in between, life flows. So love says, "I am everything." Wisdom says, "I am nothing." In between, life flows. That's worth pondering. And what is interesting about Nisargadatta Maharaj is that he wasn't locked up, or not locked up. He didn't banish himself into some kind of monastery or into some mountainside on a hill and in a cave somewhere, without any worldly worries. He actually managed to enter into a liberated state and liberated consciousness as a householder. He was part of a householder group, if you like, and he actually ran a chain of cigarette shops, and he continued to run a cigarette shop for the rest of his life to fund his lifestyle and to fund the teachings, and so you don't have to be some special ascetic kind of person hidden away from life. You can be you can be right in the midst of it, and actually Tantra says that Tantra practices are all about using life experiences to find some kind of opening. And so we can either be completely enveloped by life experiences and blown away by them, and or we can create some space around them and use them as an opening. And then there's Gary Weber, or Gary Weber. I never quite know how to say his name. It's only one B. It must be Weber, surely. And so this book, Happiness Beyond Thought, and again, he wasn't a monk. He didn't hide himself away in some kind of exotic place. He actually was in a big American corporation. He was a PhD. You know, his story, again, it's all stories, by the way, that these people tell, but the story helps to communicate. So his story was that he managed 1,000 people on a big American corporation. He had a budget of $500 million, $500 million, and but he was really trying to explore through yoga practices a modern way of getting into this state of liberation beyond the mind. And his Sadguru was Ramana Maharshi, and he chose him because he was more of a modern day guru rather than somebody who was around hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And he did lots of practices around this inquiry. Who am I? What am I? Where am I? When am I? Who is doing this asana? An asana being a yoga posture. Who hears? Who feels these sensations? And so and for many years he practiced this, and really the trick is to not ask all these questions all of the time. It's to find one question which gives you energy, and then once you've got that question in your mind and for a while, just to see how that comes. So and I've got another practice, some asana practices, the 3 sequences from Gary Weber's book, Happiness Beyond Thought, which you can have a look at. And so these are yoga flow sequences where every in-breath we ask that inquiry question, and every exhale we just let the space just develop. So it's a little bit like these Buddhist koan. It's meant to, not Leonard Cohen, a Buddhist koan, meant to sort of confuse the mind, just put it into stall mode, and then that stall mode turns into some kind of opening. So yeah, so that was a little bit of a spiel, if you like, a bit of a chat about self-inquiry. Talked about Eckhart Tolle, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, try saying that with these teeth, and Gary Weber, or Weber. So yeah, the most difficult thing about this is pronouncing these people's names. So hope that was useful. Let me know what you think. And finally, I'm just going to point you to a video which I've recently produced, which is called Nirvana Shatkam, and I'm going to play it on this very instrument here and chant it. So it's 6 verses on liberation, and this is it's kind of a lesser known mantra, and but it's really about exploring this negations. I am not the body, I'm not the mind. I am beyond even a slightest hint of a concept. I am consciousness, nothing but pure consciousness. Chit Ananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. So yeah, so there you go. A little bit of information there for you. I'll put some of these names and some of these references in the chat, in the what's that section below, description section below, and let me know how you feel about it, and if there's anything you want to explore on this channel, whether it's yoga postures, whether it's meditations, self-inquiry meditations, we've got some of those, or spiritual talks. For now, namaste, my friends.